A big thank you to our sponsor, iFixit, who fights for your right to repair and makes really cool tools in the process. If you need to fix your phone, laptop, or even a vacuum, iFixit has thousands of parts, tools, and free guides.
Mercury, Mercury Stardust. She's a beacon of hope in the darkest night. Mercury, Mercury Stardust. She'll teach you how to make it all alright.
Hey there, hi, my name is Mercury, and I'm the trans handyman. My pronouns are she, her, and I teach compassionate DIY. We're here to help renters, LGBTQIA members, and anyone who's feeling left out in a DIY space. Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Handy Ma'am Hotline. This week I am joined by my wonderful, amazing creative director, the amazing Basil.
Yay.
Hey Basil, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. We're still on tour.
We are still on tour. We just got done with Baltimore, so we are recording this like on a Monday night? No, Sunday night? I don't know. Time and dates are lost to me at the moment. Mm-hmm. But all that being said, we still have a lot of cities that we're going to. If you want to know where I'm going to for my book tour, you can find me by going to mercurystardust.com. But right now, we're having a good time doing a thing. And what's your favorite part about touring right now so far, Baze?
Honestly, really getting to see like all the cool styles. Like everyone's got cool haircuts, colors, like really cool outfits.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Hearing that, the fashion sense, and also hearing people's stories about how we're helping people.
Yeah.
Those are the two things I think that stick out so much. So it's been a wonderful experience. Speaking of wonderful experience, are you ready to help strangers on the internet?
Yes.
Okay, for those who are listening to it for the very first time, the Handyman Hotline is where people call in or text us, and we read off the questions. And I do my best I can to answer all the questions. This week, I think it's all text messages. So,
okay.
yeah.
So I'll be doing a lot of reading.
Then. Yeah, 100%. And I picked them all out.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Okay, so without further ado, let's do the first question of the week.
Okay, here we go. So we've got topic, flathead screws and bolts. I recently bought a bunch of tiny half-inch screws online for a craft project, and when I got them, I realized that they required a flathead screwdriver, which I have, so no big deal. Well, except that I've discovered that trying to screw these into the little wood blocks I have has been surprisingly challenging and apparently dangerous. The driver slipped and caught me in the hands. So my question is about what the proper use and technique for using said flathead screws are, and why you might choose a flathead version over a seemingly superior crosshead one. Why did they leave the sides open, which allow the driver to slip much more easily? I know nicer screwdrivers come with a metal sleeve which prevents slipping when it covers the screws, but I unfortunately don't have one of those. Is there a fix for that without having to buy a new hardware? Thank you for all the great things that you share with us. My life continually gets better with the knowledge you've shared and the kindness you spread. Philip.
Well, thank you so much for the good question, Philip. I really like this one. Also, the irony of Philip's name. I just realized how funny it is.
It is very funny.
That their name is Philip and we're talking about screwdrivers. It's so funny. But all that being said, why do we still have flathead screwdrivers? Why do we still have flathead screws? Well, the simple answer to that is manufacturing. It's still the cheapest way to manufacture everything. And that's like the only reason why. There is not a good reason other than the fact that like you might want to like a rustic look, or like an older look to it. I do think that like when we're doing like more fine stuff, like electronic stuff, it being flathead is never a problem. But flathead screws specifically like in drywall and woodworking and door frames is a living nightmare. And the reason why they don't have sides and they just go straight across is because various sizes of flatheads will work in them then. So you will have like number 2, and number 1, and number 3, 0, precision, all of them in different sizes. And if they have ends that don't close off at the sides, they can use various sizes for it. So that's why that reason happens. And also, if you're going to use screws at all, I would recommend a torque screw. You know what I'm talking about? They look like kind of like a sunburst.
Yeah. I've seen those. They're kind of neat.
Yeah, they're really neat, and they don't cam out. So when I say camming out, what I mean is like when the drill bit slips, like in this instance, it slipped and it stabbed Philip in the hand, right? Well, with a star bit or a torque bit, right, they don't do that. They stay in place because there's so many points of connection.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the other part of that question that I forgot?
Why don't we use Phillips for everything? I think was
Well, so the very good thing is a Phillips screwdriver. We kind of talked about this in a previous episode about the history of a Phillips screwdriver, but essentially though, it's not the same way it is every single place. Like in the UK, they don't use the Phillips nearly as much. In Canada, they almost use exclusively almost like a square bit up there. They don't really use that stuff. So it's the same reason why we don't use metric. You know what I mean? It's the same system. You know, people just do their own thing and then it becomes common and no one standardizes it across the entire world. You know, so it kind of like sinks into how we do things, the things that we get from other places. IKEA's going to have, Allen keys and etc. It's all going to be different. So yeah, essentially, it's just the way it is.
Okay, I think we answered that pretty okay.
I think we did a pretty good job. I basically picked one that was like, okay, this is
knock it out of the park.
A nice little softball is going to get us nice and ready to go. And
did you like that, Mercury? I did a little sports reference for you.
You did a sports reference, and I almost missed it. Basil, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
As an avid sports fan, you know what? It means so much to me.
I am listening to your interests.
Yeah, you do. Basil is great at just like listening to me and nodding their head as if he's actually listening to me. Okay.
All right, are you ready for question 2?
I'm ready for question 2.
All right, here we go. Hello, repair question here for Mercury. I live in an apartment and noticed my tub making a loud noise when draining the tub after taking a bath. I don't know if it's a gurgling noise or what, but it kind of sounds like a louder version of someone finishing the last few drops of a drink with a straw. Is it clogged? It drains pretty quickly still. It just makes this noise. Is there anything I can do to fix this? Thanks. eBay, they use he and they pronouns.
It sounds like you might have air bubble in your drain. So that straw noise, that like this whoo. Yeah, I don't know if do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah,
like you can't make that noise.
Yeah. It almost sounds like it's sucking it down really hard.
Yeah.
Right? An air bubble can do that, but I'm also going to say it could very well be a clog. Both of those things could be solved by just running down a drain snake down there and seeing what happens. If it takes like a minute before that happens, right? Like if you're filling it up and it takes a minute for the water to hit that section to make it do that, then it means it's fairly far down, right? That means it's probably like, a couple, dozen feet away, maybe farther, right? If it happens pretty quick in the first like 20 seconds or 10 seconds, it's probably the first like 5 feet or 10 feet of being in the drain. And that makes a difference too, what kind of drain snake you're going to use, how precarious it might actually be to use a system. But that's pretty much the straightforward way to do that.
Okay. And like, I feel like I've heard my tub make a similar noise before, like when it's draining, but it's always like at the very end. And it seems like it's when like the water is starting to get to the point where like it's not completely obstructing the pipe as it's going down.
If you do the drain snake, right, and it doesn't solve the problem, it could just be the way that it's shaped and how the drain itself in the tub is shaped. Like sometimes you'll have like a super shallow one, and sometimes you'll have like an almost like a fucking S curve, almost like a meter. Like, so you're 100% right. Like it could very much be that, but it could also be, a clog that's slightly forming.
Yeah.
Because if the pipe itself is like, in most drains, I would say like 1.25 inches, 2 inches or something right? And if that area gets smaller, well, then the airflow is going to be different. Then it's going to grab it, especially if there's a bubble in there somewhere.
You know, you can think about buildup in your arteries very similarly because it works the same way.
You know, sometimes talking to you is like finding out things about my body I do not want to know. Basil used to be a nurse, so like literally every once in a while, Basil will just drop like a knowledge on me where I'm like, dude, I did not need to know that. I did not need to know that at all. Yeah. But yeah, I do sometimes think of my organs like plumbing.
I mean, that's probably pretty direct, like, inspiration, right?
Right? I mean, yeah, I mean, it deals with waste. It deals with,
Like-
I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, the first irrigation system was, our intestines and stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay,
yeah.
we're on the same page.
Yeah. This makes logic. I'm sure everyone's going to agree with us. So I think we kind of solved that pretty quickly, too. Look at us. We're 2 for 2.
We are doing so good. And
Right on.
there is cat tax for this one, so make sure you go look at these little kitty cats.
Oh, good. I'm going to take a look at the kitty cats
They're
right
very
now.
cute. There's 2 of them.
Oh, my
They're napping
God.
together.
Oh, man. I love siblings. I love cat siblings. They're the best.
Especially when one of them is an orange boy, because, like, you know that's an orange cat
Yeah.
with orange cat behavior.
Oh, yeah. Orange cat behavior is pretty great.
And the other one's a black cat, so, like,
You're 100%. If you were going to be a cat, you would be an orange cat.
you think I would be an orange cat?
Yeah. Wait. Would you think I'm the orange cat? No way. I am not the orange cat. You're the orange cat. You know what? It would be very orange cat of me to think that you're the orange cat. Okay, we solved the drain problem.
All right, are we ready for question number 3?
For number 3, here we go.
All right, here we go. Hello. I went to one of your book signings and I have 2 questions. 2 for the price of 1. Are you ready?
Let's go for it.
Have you thought of partnering with property managers and apartment associations to teach tenants to be self-sufficient? It would help them save costs. Question. Do you want to answer the first one or do you want me to read both of them?
Read them both, buddy.
Okay, so the question number 2, have you ever thought of applying DIY to things like ADUs and van conversions? So accessory dwelling units. You need to have carpentry, electrical, and other skills to convert a van or bus. Thank you, Mercury and team.
So before I became the trans handyman, right? Like when I was still doing this work, like, every day, right? I did teach classes. I got my property management company to agree to let me teach like little, like, after.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So like I taught people how to do garbage disposals.
Uh-huh.
I taught people how to take care of their fridges.
I never knew this.
Yeah, I got them to actually say this was
That
a
is
good
so
idea.
cool.
Yeah. It was like the first month I started working there, I instilled it right away. And it was like we used it as a tenant and employee relationship building thing.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we were mandated by our company to do like 2 events or something
Mhm.
every quarter or
Yep.
something like that. So our events just became educational things for the community itself.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah, and we kept it really simple. Nothing that was going to, be a liability issue. That was
Yeah.
the whole thing that they were scared about.
Mm.
So that is a possibility, right? Like I could very well, help that happen. It is kind of an uphill battle a lot with property management companies. Right before I hired Maggie, maybe like 4 months before Maggie became my first like employee and now my business partner, I was actually being interviewed by property managements in a town who were going to hire me again as a maintenance technician. And there was a place that I thought that was like, oh yeah, no, we're going to hire you and we're going to have you be our manager. And that's what I thought it was going to be.
Mm.
And I was really excited about that.
Yeah.
But that isn't really what they wanted. They wanted me to just be a grade 1, almost like an assistant. Yeah, no, it was really frustrating, especially when you're in the industry for 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be anyone's assistant, But all that being said, yeah, I have totally wanted to do that. I think it'll be a really good program to do. But here's the thing, they don't need me to do this. Property management companies always have technicians, and a lot of them are really good at this. Not all of them are great educators. I learned that the hard way when I was growing up.
But that is a skill that they can learn.
Yes, it is. And also, I learned on the job, too. So a lot of these people also teach people anyways. So I think also it's going to be different for every apartment building. You're not going to have a universal, like in my book, right? Not everyone's going to have every single thing I tell them in there, and not everyone is going to have some people are going to have really weird situations, right? You're not going to get that from a class that your property company is going to teach you.
Sure.
But there is things like, the kind of door locks you have, right? Or the kind of windows you have, like a double hung window or windows that have like certain kind of blinds on it, I think if you can inform people on what damages, that is like a huge thing. Sometimes when we would have people move in, I would be there. Every time someone moved in, I like made it happen, which was an abnormal thing. Technicians don't usually do that, but I would do it. And what I would do is I would let the agent or whoever to walk the client around. And after they were done, I would go up to them and be like, okay, well, I'm going to show you what gets damaged the most. These blinds get damaged really easy. If you got a cat, they're not going to make it through there. Just let us know. You get one free fix, basically, until we are going to end up charging you,
Sure.
I told people that they could contact me for like, a pint of paint to match their stuff. I told people, oh, yeah, the garbage disposal always goes out. These are like a third power and they're not very strong. Don't put this down there. Don't do that. All that kind of stuff could be things that you instill.
Sure.
In tenants. And I think that can help you. I think that you can enlist them to empower them to be able to do more things in their home. Of course, you don't want the tenant to replace the sink. Of course, you don't want that.
Sure.
You don't want the tenant to like install a whole washer and dryer in their unit. You don't want those things. But I do think you can give them the knowledge that they can use in order to be the most successful tenant. You, by the way, got a letter not that long ago.
I did.
Congratulating you of being such a good fucking tenant. And you sent me the letter and it blew my mind.
It was so bizarre. I've never gotten anything like that before.
Yeah, tell the audience about it.
So after I moved out of my apartment, I was like waiting for the security deposit back. And I got this letter in the mail that also had a check attached with my entire security deposit addressed to me, and the letter basically said, thank you so much for caring and cleaning, and a lot of people don't do this.
Yeah, they're not wrong. A lot of people don't. We had a lot of trash outs, but also the irony of all of this is I think you would have less trash outs if you actually took care of your tenants. You know what I mean? And I think the irony of a lot of it, you didn't have a great experience.
No, I
with
really
this property
did not.
management company. That you had a terrible experience. You moved out essentially because they were so terrible,
Yeah,
right? One of
absolutely.
the central reasons. So, Link, they congratulated you for being a great tenant that they lost.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's a wild thing. Like, oh, thank you so much for doing this. Also, fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild to me that they're not trying to go for retention.
And it's so frustrating, too, because I gave them so many opportunities to fix things. But
yeah, so many opportunities.
Anyway.
But all that being said, I mean, I think that you can do a great service for your tenants if you're willing to empower them to some extent. Of course, there's things you don't want them to do, like changing light switches and outlets, right? But if you were maintaining them and they weren't in bad conditions,
Sure.
and all of them actually worked and they weren't like just super loose and stuff, right? Then, yeah, then they're not going to mess with it. But if they're that way before they even move in, then why do they need to worry about it? Yeah. Yeah. So the answer to that first part is yes.
And then the second part of the question was about the accessory dwelling units and vans.
We have talked about this a lot. Basil, tell them your thoughts about it, what we've talked about it.
I think it would be so cool to do a van or a tiny house or like something that we could potentially take on the road. I think that would be so cool.
Yeah, we've talked about like getting a splinter van
Yeah.
and like converting it to being basically like a tool like living space. And it would have like some tools, some power things, and it would be like a multi-tool in that way. And then we can like, I don't know, it'd be fucking great.
I mean, because we were just talking about how much we do not like flying anymore.
Yeah, for real.
So like this could be potentially, maybe that'd be a way we could sneak in some more like cross country, go meet the fans.
It would be nice. Would we stay in hotels or would we use it as like a place to sleep too?
I feel like we would probably use it as a place to sleep if we could, right?
Are you a hammock person?
I am so a hammock person, Mercury.
Okay.
You totally read me.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think what we can do is I will have a bed inside. And we just put a hammock outside or something.
Yes, exactly. Because I'm so used to backpacking. I love backpacking. I will go live out in the woods, no problem. You can go sleep in the nice cozy van.
Yeah, I mean, your gender is essentially like a Victorian fairy prince, right?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I
Yeah,
would
kind
say.
of. Yeah. Man, I'm reading you real good tonight.
Well, we have been spending a lot of time together.
Oh, 100%. We were talking about our book club the other day, and we were describing a character from this book. And it dawned on me, like, that's literally Basil's, like, fucking dream. Wonderful. But all that being said, I believe that is something we've talked about. Now, will we do it? I don't know. It's very expensive to do stuff like that. And we would need the proper space to do it. And we need some financial resources to do that. And we're not in that position as a company to do that right now. But maybe.
Maybe sometime.
Maybe the third book we do.
Maybe.
Does that mean that there's a second book?
Oh, intrigue.
I don't know. Ooh.
Guess people might have to stay tuned.
You know, she was called the ambassador of cheese and teas before she did the full-time maintenance lady stuff.
All right. Are we ready to move on to our next question?
100%.
Okay. So this one is Nicole, she, her pronouns. Nicole says, I've made a horrible mistake and I don't know how to fix it. I just bought a house and I'm about to paint. Looking around at what I needed to prep, I noticed some bubbling in a corner. I poked and it started chipping. I was planning on scraping and sanding some, and I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any water damage, so I pulled a bit and, well, now all the paint is coming off. What is my next step? I'm in way over my head, and my wife doesn't know what to do either. Please help. Cat picture as a thanks for reading this.
Oh, Nicole, my heart goes out to you like immediately. First and foremost, here's the full disclosure. I actually messaged and texted Nicole back within 10 minutes of them sending me this text last night. And I wanted to kind of like go over all the tidbits that I sent over to Nicole. And essentially, this happens. This is not your fault, okay? From the photos that I was sent last night, it was very obvious that it was bubbling up in the corner, right? And it was going to go no matter what, Nicole. It was definitely going to peel at some point. Eventually, it was going to pop, and it was going to be a problem anyways.
Yeah, I've seen this a bunch.
Yeah, all you did was just speed up the process, and that's not a bad thing at all. Now, how do you like fix this problem? Well, the thing is, you're going to actually have to make it worse before you make it better. That paint itself is being rejected from the wall. That means they didn't do a proper job when they originally painted it to begin with. And when you do this the next time, you got to make sure that you prime the heck out of that wall and make sure you set it up for success. If you don't do that later on, that latex is going to be wanting to come off one way or another. And I think that's what's happening here.
Did they say what room this is in?
No, they did not. You know, I would say it looked like it was a living room, but it could, if it's a bathroom, then you have a steam issue too. And, you know, that might be another part of it.
Yeah, that was my only thought there too. There might be something else just to look into. Just be aware.
Yeah, depending on what room you're in, if you're having a lot of moisture and a lot of heat in the air, steam, right, it's going to naturally want to pull it off. But that's why they make bathroom-specific primers and specific paint. You know, you're in a good position If you have like a gloss or a semi-gloss, you're more likely to have that adhere to the primer, and that's going to also reflect a lot. And that's why I actually recommend semi-gloss in bathrooms almost always. I don't like gloss. Gloss drives me nuts. I hate painting it. But semi-gloss I can deal with kind of.
Sure.
And I would recommend that because that sheen that it has helps to keep the moisture out a little bit and makes it a little bit easier to clean anyways. But all that being said, you got this like patch on the wall now of like paint that's still kind of peeling. And now you have bare drywall that's exposed, right? What do? Well, the first thing you want to do is actually make the problem worse. So you want to get a sanding pad, a sanding block, or an orbiter sander and just go to town, okay? You're going to try to just sand the whole area down and see how much more comes off. If it keeps on peeling on you, then you might as well just sand it all down.
Because it's going to come off eventually.
It's going to come off anyways. And if you try to cover it up right now, you're just going to make the problem worse.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure it's like pretty flat to the drywall. Once it's that way, you should be okay to add joint compound. And joint compound you can mix with some water. You can like do like, 1 part water and 2 parts joint compound. And then you can kind of get like a pancake batter going on. And that can really help make sure that it's nice and smooth and actually adheres to the wall really nice and all that jazz. But definitely use joint compound and not 5-minute mud or 10-minute mud. I just don't think that blends as well.
And you would put that over the entire like exposed drywall area?
Yeah, you would want to not just go over the exposed area, maybe like 3 inches past it all. You kind of want to feather it all off. I always talk about on-ramps and off-ramps. When you're making a patch, you're not making it flat. You're giving the illusion of flatness, right? So what you want to do is try to make it really look the flattest it can possibly look when you have a hole in the wall. So what you're doing is you're making a really long on-ramp, like a really long on-ramp into a highway. One that's so long you barely notice you're going uphill. That's kind of what we're looking for. And the longer that runway is, and the more gradual it is, the easier it is to blend. And that's basically what you'll be doing. And you're just going to feather off the sides once you do it. But probably like 2-3 coats that are pretty thin to make that work.
Okay.
And I don't sand in between coats, like ever. And you might not even have to sand. You could just use a sponge and feather off the sides with a sponge, with a wet sponge.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And once you do that, then it's priming. Then once you do 2 or 3 coats of that, then you're priming the whole area. Probably 1 coat. But, if it looks like it's pretty thin, you could do a 2nd coat of a primer just to be safe to help you. But I would also prime the whole wall. I would just paint the whole wall, the whole area. I wouldn't just do one section. I would do everything and start from scratch and see how well that holds up.
Right, especially if they like just bought this home and they want to really feel like comfortable in it. I think this is a nice first project for them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it gets you to be intimate with the home and you get to know more about your house. I would also say though, if you see any bubbles, just cut them open. Like if you're going to prep the wall and there's a bubble forming, don't paint over it. You should just cut it open and just make it a part of the patch and make it a part of the repair, Yeah, I think you want to kind of have a reset the best you possibly can in that situation. Yeah. Mercury did it again.
I think the only thing I would add to that is just that it was really hard to not make a binder trans mask joke while you were talking about making things look flat that aren't flat.
That's why you were smiling at me the entire time?
Yes,
you looked like you were ready to burst out laughing the entire time. I'm like, what am I saying that's so funny, dude?
It was just a trans joke in my head.
Oh, man, we're so loaded up trans jokes. Yeah, we got trans jokes for days. Okay, anyways, let's go to a good transition.
All right, next question we have here.
I think the last question, too.
Yeah. Ooh, they didn't tell me their name. Okay. Hi, Mercury and staff. Question for your podcast. I added a pure filter to my kitchen sink, and since then, water has been spraying from the stem of the faucet. Is there anything I can do about this besides replace the faucet? And will that even solve it, or will it just make the new faucet do the same thing eventually?
So I actually have a theory about this one. So I picked this one specifically because it's just a unique question. Like, okay, you put this filter system in, and then all of a sudden a problem arises. Like, why is that the thing? I think because of pressure change.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the pressure got tighter and more hard through that stem. And I think that because of that, filter is making it work a little bit harder and is narrowing the water just a little bit, which makes the pressure tighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just revealed something it was already doing. Like, I think it was slowly causing a problem. It was already going to be there, and then it just sent right over the hill.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think it is a bad O-ring.
Okay, yeah, that
I
makes
think
sense.
it's a 50-cent fix is what
Yeah,
I think it is.
absolutely.
I think you turn off the water just to be nice and safe. You don't really have to, but turn off the water to be safe. And then take off the handle, essentially. You just take the handle off, which is just like usually a set screw somewhere. And then once you reveal that, you can take off maybe another portion. Sometimes there's another section, or there's a stem right there that has an O-ring on it. You take that O-ring off, and then you go to a hardware store, buy a whole pack of them, and then you'll have them for life, essentially. But yeah, I think that's what it is.
Mercury, have you ever bought a plumbing O-ring to use for like an earring? Have you ever known anyone to do that?
Wait, have I ever bought?
Yeah, like for like okay, I'm sorry. This is like totally out of left
This
field.
is so random.
But like because if you stretch your ears or like any piercing,
Yeah.
they use like the same gauge system.
No
and
way.
For some jewelry, you need to use O-rings. So
Are you serious?
yeah, you can use.
So people who are listening to this might actually have an idea of what size they need based off of just their
Jewelry at home.
Holy shit, that's pretty fucking rad. I love that. That blew my mind a little bit. I was like, where are you going with this? But yeah, that's what I would think it is. And here's the thing. Even if you took the filter off, it wouldn't solve the problem now. Because now it's like the wheel fall off the truck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of like that time when our tire blew up on the freeway. Yeah.
100%. Just like that time that we were going home and we had a tire on a highway basically pop. That was absolutely awful. Ah, boy. Good stuff. Anyways, I think that we did it. I think we answered all the questions.
Oh my
for this
God,
one.
we did it. We did a whole podcast on tour.
Yeah, we did a whole podcast on tour. I think we kept it a little bit shorter today because, again, we're on tour. We want to sleep tonight. I want to talk to my spouse, Mouse.
Oh, yes.
I am sure that Basil wants to watch more Sex Education.
Yes, new season.
New season of Sex Education. Hey, by the way, and no, this is not the podcast for it, but have you watched Our Flag Means Death? You haven't.
I
right?
haven't yet.
Dude. Now is the time. Dude,
Yeah.
I will watch season 1 with you. I will fucking watch. I will make you watch season 1
Oh
with
my
you.
gosh.
It is so good, dude.
It sounds like it might be a job requirement now.
Yeah, I think it is. Oh my gosh, should we do a book club dash? TV watch? Oh, just Our Flag Means Death?
That would be fun.
Boy, if you like that, you can text us at this number.
608-205-8768.
You can also text us or call us at the same number if you have any questions or if you have any problems with any of the things I said during this podcast. If you're like, no, Mercury, you're wrong about that. Hey, tell me about it by texting or leaving a voicemail. And all that being said, you got anything else to say, Baze?
If you do take our advice and have any updates, also send us pictures. Like if you paint your stuff like with our advice, like I want to see that. Please include us.
Love seeing updates to the things that we tell people. It's like my favorite thing in the world. So remember, until next time, you're worth the time it takes to learn a new skill. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The theme song was created by Rhodey Walker. Questions were picked up by our production assistant, Ziggy. A big thank you to our executive producer, Basil. And this podcast was recorded and edited by Matthew Allen Haig. Thank you for listening. See you next time. If you enjoyed this episode of the Handyman Hotline, you can listen to an even longer version by supporting us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon, $10 or more, you'll be able to get an extra long 30 to 45 minute section every single week. Isn't that amazing? More of me and Maggie. Wow! So thank you so much for all those who already support us, and you too can support us and listen to more on our Patreon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So grab your hammer and nails and paint your nails if you want to. You're worth the time it takes to be you. She'll teach you how to fix your house, how to fix it by yourself. The trans handy.